Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. You guys asked for it, so buckle up. We're diving into a wild international divorce case that you specifically requested.
Should be interesting.
We're breaking down a Canadian court decision. Sachidanathan v. Sivanason.
It's a mouthful, I know. But the details, oh, the details. Juicy doesn't even begin to describe it.
What's so juicy about it? What makes this case stand out?
Well, at first glance, it might seem like your run-of-the-mill divorce, but trust me, there's a twist. It all boils down to a critical piece of information, or rather, the lack thereof.
Okay, you've piqued my interest. Let's set the scene.
All right, picture this. Mississauga, Ontario, back in 2009. We've got a couple tying the knot, starting their happily ever after, or so they thought.
Yeah, happily ever after doesn't always go as planned, does it?
Sadly, no. By 2010, this couple had gone their separate ways.
And I'm guessing this is where the drama begins.
Oh, it's about to get real. So, in 2011, the husband, let's call him the applicant, decides he wants to make the separation official. He files for divorce. Sounds pretty standard so far, right?
Yeah, pretty typical.
But here's the catch. The wife, or the respondent, as she's known in the case, is no longer in Canada.
Oh. Where'd she go?
England. She packed her bags and moved across the pond, which, as you can imagine, complicates the whole divorce process.
Definitely makes it trickier. You can't exactly serve someone with divorce papers if they're in a different country. Or can you?
That's the million-dollar question. The husband is obligated to officially serve his wife with the divorce papers. But here's where things get interesting. He claims to have absolutely no clue where she's living in England.
No idea at all. Come on, that seems a bit fishy, don't you think?
That's what I thought. But wait, there's more. Remember how he claimed to be totally clueless about his wife's address?
Yeah?
Well, somehow he miraculously manages to send those divorce papers to her parents' house in England.
Wait, hold on. He doesn't know where his wife lives, but he knows where her parents live. That doesn't add up.
Right. It's like saying you don't know someone's phone number, but then calling them out of the blue. It just doesn't make sense.
It sounds like he was trying to be slick, but he wasn't slick enough.
Exactly. And you know what? This seemingly small detail, this attempt to, shall we say, sidestep proper notification, it sets off a whole chain of events that throws this entire divorce case into question.
You're saying this little white lie, this conveniently sending the papers to the parents, is going to come back to bite him.
Oh, big time. Remember, this is just the beginning. We're just scratching the surface here. Just wait till I tell you what happens when the wife returns to Canada.
She comes back to Canada.
Oh, yeah, she comes back. And that's when things really hit the fan. But I think we need to pause here and let our listeners process this little bombshell we've just dropped.
All right, so the husband, our applicant, he's pulled a fast one. Got that divorce while conveniently forgetting to mention his wife's return to Canada. What happens next?
Well, here's the thing about divorce. Even if it's international, you can't just, hit undo that final order. It's usually final.
Right, like hitting send on an email. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly. But, and this is big but, there are a few exceptions. And this case, it fits right into one of those exceptions.
Okay, so what's the magic exception here? What can overturn a final divorce order?
Fraud. If you can prove the divorce was obtained through shady means, well, the whole thing can be thrown out.
And I'm guessing that's what the wife is going for here.
Bingo. She's claiming her husband's little omission, not mentioning their contact and her being back in Canada, invalidates the whole divorce.
So she's saying he built his case on a lie.
More like a foundation of deception. And remember how the husband played the whole "I can't find my wife in England" card?
Yeah, that was pretty suspect.
Well, to spice things up even more, there's an international treaty involved. Get ready for it. The Convention on the Service Abroad of Judicial and Extrajudicial Documents.
Whoa, that's a mouthful. Okay, break it down for me. What is this convention and why should we care?
Basically, it's a set of rules for serving legal documents across borders. Think of it like a global rule book for legal fairness, especially in international cases.
So was our friend playing by the rules of this global rule book?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The court had to figure out if the husband's little trick, serving those papers to the parents, actually followed this international agreement and Ontario's own family law rules.
So we've got a potentially fraudulent divorce, international law coming into play. This is messy. But how do we get from suspicion to actual proof?
It all comes down to what's presented to the court. And this is where the wife's affidavit throws a wrench into the whole thing. Remember that storage unit she mentioned?
Yeah, the one she contacted her husband about while he was busy pretending he couldn't find her?
Exactly. Her version of the story paints a very different picture.
Oh. I'm all ears.
According to her, not only did the husband help her move out of her condo before she left for England, but he also knew exactly where she was living, even helped her move stuff to storage.
He helped her pack, knew her address, and then acted clueless. Seriously, that's bold.
Bold is an understatement. The wife's affidavit totally contradicted his whole can't contact her narrative.
So much for material non-disclosure. This wasn't just forgetting a detail. It sounds like a full-blown cover-up.
You got it. So the husband's little plan is falling apart, the truth is coming out, and the question is, what's the judge going to do?
The moment of truth. Did he buy the husband's story or see through the charade?
Well, let's just say the jig was up. The judge looked at all the evidence, and his conclusion, crystal clear.
Don't leave me hanging. What did the judge decide?
He ruled that the husband's actions were not just misleading, they were straight up fraudulent. And the consequences, not pretty.
Hit me with it. What went down?
The judge declared the order validating the service of the divorce papers void, and the divorce order itself talked out.
Wow. The divorce is officially undone. It's like hitting rewind on the whole marriage.
Pretty much. This seemingly simple divorce turned into a full-blown legal drama,
Yeah.
and we haven't even gotten to the potential fallout for our not-so-honest husband.
It's amazing how a seemingly straightforward divorce turned into such a legal whirlwind. But the divorce is off, the husband's plan backfired, and now I'm wondering about the aftermath. Are there any other consequences for him? I mean, trying to trick the court can't be taken lightly, right?
You hit the nail on the head. While the judge didn't impose any extra penalties this time, there could be other ways to hold him accountable. It really depends on the specific laws of the region and the nitty-gritty of the case.
So what are we talking about here? What kind of consequences could he be facing?
Well, in some cases, someone who deliberately misleads the court could be looking at perjury charges. That's serious business. And then there's the possibility of fines or, in extreme situations, even jail time.
Okay, that definitely highlights the whole honesty's the best policy thing, especially in legal matters. But beyond the individual case, what does this whole situation tell us about international divorce proceedings in general?
It throws a spotlight on how messy family law can get, especially when you factor in international borders. You're dealing with different legal systems, international agreements, and the need for transparency, even when things are rough personally.
It's a good reminder that divorce, even though it's about ending a relationship, is still a legal process with real consequences. You can't just play fast and loose with the facts, especially with multiple countries involved. No wonder lawyers are always harping on about honesty and full disclosure.
Absolutely. This case might have involved a pretty blatant attempt to pull the wool over the court's eyes, but it just shows how important it is to be careful with international divorce. Even if the rules about serving documents abroad seem fuzzy, judges can still step in, especially if there's even a whiff of deception.
So while this was a very specific case, the main takeaway is universal. Be upfront, be honest, and follow the proper procedures.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe this case will even lead to those international rules on serving documents getting a much-needed makeover. A bit more clarity and consistency would definitely be a good thing.
Making the system airtight, so to speak.
Precisely.
This has been quite the deep dive. I never thought divorce law could be so captivating.
It's full of surprises, intrigue, drama, and some pretty relevant lessons for everyone.
Well said. For our listeners out there going through their own separation or divorce, remember, honesty is key, and always, always get advice from a qualified legal professional. They'll help you navigate the legal maze, make sure your rights are protected, and hopefully keep your story out of our next deep dive episode.
Couldn't put it better myself. Knowing the ins and outs of the legal system, especially when it comes to something as life-changing as divorce, is empowering.
You got that right. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the world of international divorce drama. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.